to say hello to the PTA Global community and thank you guys for joining us once again. I have the distinct pleasure, again, of being able to sit here with Dr. Roy Sugarman. And Dr. Roy Sugarman is the Director of Applied Neuroscience for Athletes Performance and Core Performance, which is fantastic because that's a beautiful relationship we have with Mark Verstegen and his whole group, as Mark Verstegen is part of the PTA Global family and helped contribute to what we put together. So we thank him personally and then indirectly through Roy. And Roy, we just kind of talked about your title as a Director of Applied Neuroscience, and that's not a title that you hear thrown around a lot in the industry or in the world. So can you just give us a quick overview of what that is and what you do for athletes' performance?
That's right. Yeah, as you mentioned, Mark Verstegen is a great innovator in science terms, and he got me in a couple of years ago now to head up one section of athletes' performance and work with an incredibly talented team in looking at how neuroscience can contribute to peak performance. So my job is to work with everybody who comes to AP and work within AP and CP to fundamentally work in two areas. The one is on how the brain acts as a motivating system, guiding people's performance. And the second thing, how do we enhance the brain so that the brain is working in the best way with the body so that we have this unitary, fantastic output, people being the best they can be.
In this series, this up close and personal series that we're doing for the community now, we're talking about the power of play. And we've recently talked with Frank Forencich, who is the creative operator for the Exuberant Animal Company, which is fantastic. And he's kind of given us his take on the social concepts and constructs around play. But we'd like to come to you now, Roy, with your expertise and with that neuroscience background and kind of dig in a little bit into the piñata and see what is play, what does it do for us, and what can it do, and how can it be used for us from a neuroscience standpoint?
Certainly. I always go back when I talk about happiness or I talk about play or I talk about enjoying stuff. I always come back to kind of a single aspect of that, which is that emotions are actually kind of a motor behavior. That emotions are pretty much embedded in our bodies. That's how we have them. Feelings is how we know we have emotions, because feelings is the conscious realization that something's happening physically. So it's great to have emotions as motor activity, but a negative emotion gets in the way of a nice fluid motor activity. Take a look at Tiger Woods. Take a look at a batter who's in a slump. The minute there's a negative emotion in the body, motor sequences go out the window. The reason is that the cerebellum at the back of the brain and other motor cortices right in the front of the brain, they don't correct error very easily, and bad emotion is a kind of an error. So if you're not feeling good when you go to the gym on that day, or you're not feeling good when you go to the stadium, you've got a negative emotion messing up your motor activity. The mechanics of what you're doing is never going to be optimum. You're sitting in the bull ring, in the bullpen, waiting for that phone call. If there's negative emotion there, you're not going to swing the bat the way you should. So on the other side of that, what is play? Play is the way we elicit a positive emotion. And positive emotions enhance motor activity, if that makes sense. Negative emotions become an error in the system. Positive emotions support the system in doing what it should do. The reason is that negative emotions keep you watching for danger at some level. With the positive emotion of play, you're not looking for danger, you're focused. Being in the zone doesn't just mean being in the zone. It means happily being in the zone. It means enjoying being in the zone. So when we're amateurs, we're playing for the love of it. We're playing for intrinsic motivation. This is good, positive, happy play. So we tend to be good at it. Now we're getting into the big leagues. Now there's money and there's girlfriends chasing us on Facebook, and 62,000 kids want to be our friend, and we've got an agent and we've got an accountant, and we're sitting in a bar and some guy's telling us, you're nothing. It's very hard to keep your mechanical swing looking good. Tiger Woods knows that. You get one golf club in your window and look how long it's taking to come back because the body's in the way. So the importance of play is to bring out positive emotions into your motor sequence, which supports your goals and keeps you in the zone. Negative emotions are distractors because your body responds to that as a threat. So the great importance of play in neuroscience terms is to align your emotions with your goals to get the motor sequence free of error. Now, you guys know about effective movement, and you know about triangulated three-dimensional movement. Because that's more fun and it's more effusive, And if you're playing with balloons and you're doing all kinds of novelty, this is going to be fun. We interpret novelty in a good mood as fun. Novelty in a bad mood is a threat. So play is tied to positive emotions, positive movement, novelty, and creating brain tissue. Negative approach, bad stuff, kills off brain tissue, as we know in depression and bipolar disorder and other illnesses like that. So I can't overestimate that what play can do for you, because play, if you like, is positive movement, getting your goals aligned and getting you doing what you want to do.
That's fantastic. And Roy, you brought up something, because we're talking about kind of positive and negative emotions, so to speak, something that's more aligned with somebody that's going to help make them happy versus something that's more aligned that's not going to make them happy. That being said, how important, from your standpoint and from your expertise and your background, is it to give somebody, and also bringing in novelty? So I'm kind of building a story here in a city, but how important is that then to give somebody something that they're comfortable with, but it's enough to push them into a positive emotional state, so to speak? So, for instance, if we give something that's completely against what someone's preference or their comfort level is, say if it's an exercise and it's just too, not necessarily complex, but it's just too bizarre, it's too unknown to them, versus giving them something that's somewhat known but making it have a different effect to them, giving, whether it's different movements with a piece of apparatus that they're comfortable with, or whether it's giving them a typical movement that they've done but just slightly changing it. How much does that play into play itself, or creating that play state within us from a neuroscience standpoint, if that made any sense?
There's a zone of comfort, if you like, in which people operate positively, and within that zone of comfort, which is a context you create, you can push people just a little bit. Now, when you're training someone, you're actually stressing them out. Mm-hmm. So any real training stress produces cortisol, produces stress hormones, all of that stuff. And in the recovery, we're going to compensate well. So there are two aspects here. If you create an environment which is safe, in other words, we're playing here, we're having fun here. This is novelty. This is not challenge. This is fun. This isn't boot camp. Right. Then you're staying within the comfort zone. I'll give you an analogy from the animal kingdom. If you take a dolphin and you train a dolphin to do stuff, it's always the stuff that the dolphin can do in the wild. So the dolphin will cooperate. You tell it to jump and twist and stand on its tail. It can do that anyway. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. A guy called Gregory Bateson years ago discovered that you could train a dolphin to do stuff that it never sees in the wild. But the dolphins became ill, and some of them died after that. It's too much of a stressor. However, when the trainer, who the dolphin knew, loved the trainer could get that dolphin to do stuff it had never done in the wild, and the dolphin loved it. It's about that relationship. So the point about play and novelty and increasing the complexity just a little bit is the strength of your relationship. As a coach or a trainer with a strong, motivated relationship around let's have fun, let's push you a little bit and see how you can go, but it's a free, open relationship. You can call me quits anytime you want. Mm-hmm. Creating a good training environment with play and with a good, warm relationship allows the person to push themselves and feel good. So building play and building respect and building warmth into your training relationship allows you to push without damage. Because the person feels, A, they can push back, and B, I'm having fun and there's a trust relationship. So it filters into the context of that relationship, into the nature of the warmth of that relationship. And that allows you as a human being to exceed your own limits. Because think about it this way. Nobody ever manages to exceed their own self-image. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a warm relationship, your self-image improves a little bit, so you'll test yourself a bit more. And the best way to do that is to build play, fun, novelty, and complexity in the context of a warm and supportive relationship. That makes it client-centered. It's not about me as a trainer. It's about the person. What I'm doing in that room, in the training gym, it's got nothing to do with the person's life outside. The reason they're in the gym is because of their life outside. Mm-hmm. So I want them to take me with them outside in a warm, positive way and say, I have a friend in Sugarman. I have a friend in Corn. I have a friend in PT Global, so I know when I go back home, there's a warm, supportive system waiting for me in the gym. Does that make sense to you, Rodney? That it's in that building of a warm relationship where it is client-centered. It is about the needs and wants of the person. It's not about me counting repetitions.
Right.
It's about them feeling warm and supported and connected and wanting to do more with themselves. Then I can ask them to extend without hurting themselves.
Absolutely brilliant. And I would urge the community or whoever watches this to go back and hear and listen to that again. If I'm hearing you correct, Roy, it's if you can establish the rapport and build the trust, then you create the platform from which you can now move the client where they really want to go or where they can go or where they would desire to go to help them get into that state, that emotional state or that happiness, state of happiness, to create an environment of play.
Yes.
But it has to start with that rapport and trust.
Let me give you two words. The one is evoke and the one is provoke. Mm-hmm. When you're doing the boot camp kind of pushing, you're provoking them to do better.
Well said.
My approach is to evoke the best out of them through creating a relationship in which is centered on them.
Yes.
So you can evoke the best. Provoking the best, not always. Some people, yes, because they like to be provoked, like boxers, like Martina Navratilova and other extremely competitive people who will come back at you hard. But that's not everybody. The standard client we have, we need to evoke the best in them. And that challenge, like the dolphins, has to occur in a warm, supportive, loving relationship, warm relationship,
yes,
where they are the focus of warm, positive attention, play. You know, we love fighting with people as long as it's over a deck of cards or a Monopoly board or a Scrabble board or Words with Friends, whatever else we're doing. We love to fight that way because it's a warm relationship. If every time we lose, the other person is jumping up and down and going, we don't want to play them too. We don't want to play anymore. We go home. We take our toys. We go home.
Right.
2 out of 4 people in the training room are going to take their toys and go home because we're making it about us and not about them. So that evoke versus provoke for me tells me, because when I think the difference is when we're evoking stuff, we're listening to the people. When we're provoking stuff, we're telling them. Yes. And good coaches ask. They don't tell.
That was beautifully said, because the dolphin story was brilliant. That dolphin story tells basically what happens in the industry with so many personal trainers is that they're teaching that dolphin to do something that it doesn't really want to do, that has no context to know what to do. And then those dolphins end up leaving. They get sick, they leave, they get tired, sick and tired of the gym environment, and they walk away, and then the trainer can't figure out why this person's quitting. So Roy, if people want to get more information about you specifically or about what you do, or they want to get in contact with you, how is the best mean or method to get in contact with you or to find you somewhere?
Best way is to Facebook me at Roy Sugarman on Facebook. So that's the best way to do it, or to look at athletes' performance and core performance stuff as well.
Okay.
My own website is endlessly under development. It should be ready in a couple of weeks' time, which is roysugarman.com. The easiest way to get to me is through Facebook, and I'll happily friend people and talk to them. Happy to have conversations on Facebook, which is great. And I post a lot of stuff, as you know, on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So always welcome to see people from PT Global coming online. That's great.
Yeah. And just so you know, if you guys jump on to Roy's Facebook page, if you're not already friends with him, just let him know that you're from the PTA Global community, and he will access that. And I can attest that he's always answering and he's always posting stuff. So it'll be a treasure if you guys can do that. So, Roy, thank you so much again. Thanks for all your help.
Pleasure. Thank you.